What's going on, guys? JJ here, bringing you a brand new video. Now, first things first, before we get into the video, I want to apologize. You might hear a little bit of an echo. The reason being is because I'm actually recording this in my bathroom. Some of you are probably wondering why the hell you're recording this in the bathroom. It's just, I've had people over all day, and there's a lot of noise in my house, so this is the only place where it's quiet, where my microphone won't pick up other people. So sorry about that. This is an inconvenience that most likely will not happen again, where I have to record in the bathroom. Anyways, if you guys are enjoying the Star Wars Battlefront 2 Kotor mod showplay gameplay right here, give me a like, but let's get into the video, which actually has the topic of hand, Kotor. Is it a possibility, or do we really need Kotor? A few months back, I made a video where I wanted to start a brand new series called Kotor 3 Chances or something. I forgot what it was called. But basically the whole point of that series is, what are the chances of Kotor 3? Can we get Kotor 3 leaks, this, that, and that? And I'm here to say, this is a short video, really quick. What if we don't need a Kotor game, which I really love Kotor. It is my favorite franchise of all time. It's my favorite game of all time. There's nothing I love more than Kotor. Heck, if it wasn't for Kotor 2, I played Kotor 2 before Kotor 1, even though I love Kotor 1 more. If it wasn't for Kotor 2, I would never have gotten into the Elder Scrolls or MMOs or anything like that. That was the first RPG I ever played where I learned what kind of game was for me. And it really does sadden me to see the fact that we never got a sequel to the second game, even though there was a much need for it. Everyone wanted a sequel, everyone needed a sequel, we needed to know what happened to Revan. And then of course we had the Old Republic MMO come out, and then we had the basically the expansion with Revan and the book about Revan. And that alone just cut it off. And that's what this video is about, is that the fact that a lot of people thought that the new expansion was Kotor 3. Obviously people realize now that it isn't. But I remember on that video, I was getting comments from people being like, oh, look, it's actually happening. And of course it isn't. In my opinion, this is sort of the topic of this video is probably why Star Wars: The Old Republic killed Kotor 3 Chances, unless it's a whole different story and stuff. So if you're not familiar with the Kotor story and you're just one of my subs watching this, basically the first one is, I'm not going to spoil it in case you want to play it, but it's about this guy named Revan who's like an all-powerful dude, and he's good and bad, blah, 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 blah. You have to play it to understand. And then the second game is sort of like you were one of Revan's generals in his army, blah, blah, blah. You have to play it to understand. And then what happened was, when the Old Republic came out, there was a lot of hype around it, and it was pretty good. For the first year or so, everybody was enjoying the Old Republic, including me. I pre-ordered that shit and played the living hell out of it. I like MMOs and I love the Old Republic, so why not? And I really did enjoy the game. However, after a while of time, people got bored of it because they realized that the combat is the same as World of Warcraft, and there just wasn't a lot of community interaction in that game, for me at least. Yes, you have the guilds and stuff, and they do work fairly well, but there isn't really a lot of the game, in my opinion, is still thriving, and still does really good as a free-to-play MMO. That's obviously why they got rid of the 15-month subscription fee, even though you could still pay for it. But it does good for a free-to-play MMO. However, it's just not what people wanted. Let's be honest here. You wanted a Bioware Kotor 3 game, or a Bioware Star Wars game set in the Old Republic, or heck, just a Star Wars game made by Bioware that with an RPG setting. Now, hopefully our answers will become answered, because we're getting Star Wars Battlefront from DICE, which is just crazy. I'm really looking forward to that. I already pre-ordered it and everything. And then we have the new Uncharted-like Star Wars, which is kind of reminiscent to 1313, if you know what that is. So there are still chances for Kotor 3. We never know if we'll get it, maybe. It all depends on EA, Disney, and what they want to do. And basically they confirm that, all the other stuff is not canon in the Star Wars story, so it's all expendable. Or you can go on whatever route you want to for those Star Wars lores, because they're not actually a part of the actual real Star Wars canon lore. So you could still do whatever you want with that kind of game, or make a new MMO, oh god, no, never mind. I'm sorry for saying that, a new MMO, a new RPG of Star Wars setting, and it just wouldn't have anything to do with the main story, which is actual canon. So, like I said in the title of this video, the reason I think the Old Republic honestly didn't kill the chances, but hurt the chances of Kotor 3 very badly, is because the KOTOR series, as we know, Knights of the Old Republic, is about, obviously, the Old Republic, and mainly Revan. And now that we know what happens to Revan, I'm not going to say anything, obviously, in the video game for the MMO and in the book. Heck, they even released an expansion about Revan, which pissed so many fans off, but, got a lot of fans happy, too. There were more happy fans than pissed off fans. But at the same time, you got to look at that and you got to be like, oh shit, they just put Revan in this MMO, which basically kills the chances of us getting a Revan game, in my opinion. And another thing is, we saw Knights of the Fallen, and people have been saying for months now, we want KOTOR 3, we want a Star Wars RPG setting, we want something like that. And they basically came out at E3 and were like, we've heard you guys, we know what you want. Over at Bioware, we love the Old Republic, blah, blah, blah. They're talking about how they love Star Wars, the Old Republic. And then they're talking about how everybody wants more RPG choices, settings, and more morality in the world and stuff like that. And he's like, that is why we're releasing the new KOTOR expansion. Not KOTOR, my bad. The new Old Republic expansion, Knights of the Fallen. And they had a trailer and everything. And I remember the internet was abuzz when this trailer came out. Because some people didn't realize that there was a Star Wars MMO. And they thought that this was actually the sequel to KOTOR 2, meaning KOTOR 3. Unfortunately, it isn't. Which brings another point. Bioware's not dumb. They realize that people want KOTOR 3, or that they want Star Wars RPG like KOTOR. Which, meaning to say, we don't know yet at this point in time. Disney, EA, and all that Star Wars stuff just recently happened, like a few years back. It's only been a few years under new leadership, so we still don't know if we're going to get a new KOTOR. But, in my opinion, I don't think we're really going to get a KOTOR 3 just because of all the stuff that happened to Revan in the book and in the video game, the MMO. But I do think there's still a possibility for a Star Wars type RPG, possibly made by Bioware, maybe even Obsidian, or even, hey, another company in whole. And another thing that I really want to take right before I end the video and reflect of this is, how would you guys like sort of like a KOTOR 3 or a Star Wars RPG, but with a Dragon Age Inquisition combat style and layout, and like sort of like BioWare's Mass Effect's voice choices and stuff like that? Because if BioWare really did decide to make a new KOTOR, the characters would obviously be voiced. It's not the same. Even though I love non-voice characters in video games too, that you choose the choices, that's not what BioWare does really anymore. They like to have voice scripts. They make the game a little more linear so that the story can go on a lot better. So how would you guys feel about that? Do you actually think we'll ever get a KOTOR 3, or do you think we might get a Star Wars RPG? Because in my opinion, I still think the chances are pretty damn high to get a Star Wars RPG. Disney's not dumb. Neither is EA. Even though everyone hates EA, they're a business company and they like money. What gives them money? Something fans will love, which is why they're doing Star Wars Battlefront. Yes, the people working on Battlefront, truly you can tell that they have compassion towards the project and they love it. But EA doesn't really care about that. They know what money brings in. And they know that KOTOR 3 would bring in a lot of money. That's why they developed into the Old Republic. But they still know people want KOTOR 3 or something with Star Wars RPG. And I'm telling you right now, over the next few years, you're going to see a hell of a lot more Star Wars games. They're going to be banking on this thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if sometime in like the next 4 years, we get either an announcement or a full game of a Star Wars RPG type of game. Thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry this was a little longer than I intended, actually. And sorry for the echo because of the bathroom thing. Yeah, it won't happen again. So I'll see you guys all later. Peace.